Good evening, Shocker families. My name is Alicia Newell, and I have the privilege of serving as one of the Assistant Vice Presidents for Student Affairs at Wichita State University. Tonight's table topic is one that is very near and dear to my heart because it has to do with you directly as parents. And the thing that we want the most is access to our students' accounts. And so tonight, we're going to talk about your students' access. How do you obtain access to your students' accounts? What process does that entail? In addition, we're going to talk about how does your students find out what textbooks they have, and all of the information that is within our Shocker store of finding out what materials, textbooks are needed, and then even some of the things of how do they get access to some of those online codes that they have to purchase for courses. And so again, I'm Alicia. With me tonight is Kim Sandlin, who you all know if you've joined us before. She is the peanut butter to my jelly, my partner in crime on campus. And so she and I like to tag team these because we want to make sure that we are bringing the information to your home if you're unable to join us at New Student Orientation. And so I think all of us here on the show tonight, we've had kids who've gone through this process or are getting ready to start this process. Gina is kind of like the OG veteran. She is the one who has successfully graduated a student from Wichita State with multiple degrees. And then she also has a current student at Wichita State. Kim and I, we're kind of newbies, and we have little freshmen that are getting ready to start. So we are right there with you, and being reminded that this applies to us too, right, Gina? You have to get access to get from your student to get access to their records. And so that means they got to give us permission. And so we're going to talk about that tonight. But a little about myself, I am a proud alum of Wichita State. I graduated with 2 degrees, or will be graduating with 2 degrees from Wichita State. And I love the work that we get to do on a daily basis, meeting our students where they're at and helping them get to where they need to be, and walking that journey with our families and our students is probably one of the most amazing things that I get to do on a daily basis with amazing people. And so as a first generation college student, being able to help our families understand what this college going process looks like so that they can better help their students be successful is also something that I'm proud that our team is very diligent in making sure that we bring those resources to you. So I'm going to turn it over to Kim to introduce herself, and then we're going to get started. Throughout the program, if you have any questions tonight, feel free to drop those in the chat box, and we will get to them as time allows. And then, as always, at the very end, we will do a drawing for one of our families to win a giveaway. So, Kim, take it away.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm Kim Sandlin. As Alicia mentioned, I serve our students and parents and campus as our Director of Student Success. And so part of what we do is welcome our new Shockers and families to the university. So we're glad that you are here tonight with us. And I, as Alicia, I am also an alum of the university and have a kid starting. And funny, I knew what the topic was tonight. And so I looked at my email because my kid, I was like, oh, it's FERPA proxy time. And so he logged in and he did his things. And then this was a while ago. And then I let some time lapse. And then I was like, oh, looky there. It expired. Look at it. Look, it did its job. And so I had to have him resend it. And so anyway, I just got that all straightened out. So if you are like me, you know, I've been here for 26-ish, so I don't know, 27. Between Gina and Alicia and I think we have, I was thinking, I bet we have over 60 years of service to the university, which is crazy. But we got a lot of experience, and sometimes even we forget what that process is. And so if you are, you know, kind of joining and you're like, I don't even know what they're talking about, proxy, FERPA, what it all is, we're going to explain what that is tonight. And then certainly textbooks is a whole nother kind of thing to navigate and kind of figure out. So just want to make sure that we're touching base with both of you. I always learn something, and it's been interesting to go through these as a new parent of a student because I really have to pay attention. And so I have taken a couple notes at every single one of these, and they've been really helpful for me. So we hope they're as helpful to you as well. So I'm going to throw it over. I think Gina is our first presenter. So I don't know, Alicia, if you want to do introductions of all four or get started, how you want to do that, but I'll throw it over to Gina.
Okay, well, I'll introduce myself, and then I guess after I'm done with my part, then Lisa can introduce herself. So Gina Crabtree, I'm the University Registrar, as Kim and Alicia both alluded to. I've worked on campus for a long time. It'll be my 30-year anniversary coming up this fall. And I've worked in admissions and now the registrar side of things. And it's always my fun job to talk with families about FERPA and what that means. And FERPA is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, and it's a law that governs access to student records. So I know that sounds super exciting, but ultimately it is important for us as parents to understand what goes into a student's record and who has access and how we can gain access or view certain records and what the restrictions are about that. So that's really the goal for us today, is to provide you with a general overview about that and a couple of resources, and then happy to answer any questions. So I'm going to try and share my screen here and see if it works. So y'all can. There we go. Okay. So just wanted to give folks a little quick view so you have a visual. I'm a very visual person, but we have a lot of websites on campus, of course, and a lot of them have a good kind of shortcut URL. So wichita.edu/FERPA, FEPRPA, will get you to this site. Even though the URL is kind of longer once you enter it in, it's really easy in terms of that initial entry. So as I mentioned, FERPA is the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, and this website goes into the details on it. Some highlights that I want to share with you are that the basics of FERPA is that the rights to a student's educational record when they're in college belongs to them, not to us as parents, which is what the situation was when our kids were in high school and elementary school. So students are in charge of their record, and they have certain rights under FERPA. They can review and inspect their record upon request, or on a regular basis now because of the digital age. They can view things online. They can ask us to make an amendment to their record if there's anything that's incorrect or misleading about their record. They can work with us on that. They have the right to say, within certain restrictions, who can have access to their record. And then they have the right to file a complaint with the Department of Ed if they believe their FERPA rights are being violated in some way. So ultimately, what that means for us as an institution, for any institution of higher education, is that we cannot provide information about a student's education record to any third party without their written consent. And parents, we're third parties in this situation. So what we like to do is talk with parents about kind of what that means, excuse me, and help them to understand that the student is the one that owns those rights, and the student does have the ability to say who can see the record within certain limitations. And if you are interested in and wanting to get access to your student record, the best way for you to get information about your student's record is from the student. So one of the other things that we then like to go into are the details related to how a student can go about doing that. So another, I don't know if this will change it. Yeah, I'm going to change my screen here and share another one really quick that please helpful. So this website at wichita.edu/proxy, PROXY. Maybe I didn't share that correctly. Anyway, so wichita.edu/proxy is another site where a student can go and read information about proxy, and there's a document there about how they set someone up as a proxy, and then the person who's been set up as a proxy also has an information document there. Ultimately, the proxy system is this, that a student logs into their regular MyWSU with their ID and password, and they click on a link for proxy management, and they then are presented with some information, some blanks to fill in, where they say, I want to make my mom a proxy, and they list mom's email address and it's some information about mom. And then they're presented with a list of links, essentially, of options of what they can give their proxy access to. So they check the box, I want my mom to be able to see all the things, or maybe my schedule and my financial aid, but not my grades, or maybe my grades, but not my schedule. Whatever it is, the student has full control to identify what information they are giving their proxy access to. When that happens then, and they save, then the proxy receives an email at whatever address the student enters and is invited to click on a link and go establish their password to use with their email address so that they can log in as that proxy. And then after that's been established through a specific link, each time they want to review the student's record and what the student has given them access to, then the proxy goes to that location, uses those credentials to log in, and can view the information that the student has given them access to view. So on this website, a little bit further down, scrolling here, you'll see how to set up a proxy, student instructions. That document, student clicks on, and it walks them through how they can set up someone as a proxy. Then once that's done, the proxy again will get an email with some information, but there's a document here about how you access information as a proxy, and then the link to get into the proxy system. Again, the original link you'll be sent will help you to set up your password, but then thereafter you use this link to actually log into the system and see the kinds of things that your student has allowed you to see. So the proxy information further down on this web page is kind of grouped into three main areas. General access, which are things that are primarily about an academic record. Again, their students, their profile and kind of information we have about them, their address, other things, their schedule, this week at a glance, if they have any holds, what their grades are. And then there's this I give permission link that I'm going to talk about in a minute. Then the second grouping is all these financial aid options. So each one of these things is a different checkbox that the student has where they can identify what access someone should have. And then there's an I give permission link there. And then under student account, there is only an I give permission link. The I give permissions are essentially, if a student checks the box that's associated with that, then they are telling us, say, I give permission for WSU to discuss any of the things that they checked in the above links with their proxy when the proxy provides the passphrase. So I want to clarify that this is not the password that you use to set up your proxy access we talked about a moment ago. The student sets a passphrase when they establish their proxy, and it's a word or a couple of words or whatever it is, and that passphrase is shared with the proxy. So if you, as the parent, called and said, I have some questions about what I'm seeing on my student's record when I am in proxy access, if the student checks this box, then we can see that, and we know that we're allowed to talk to their proxy about those things as long as the proxy tells us the passphrase. That's how we know who we're talking to over the phone, rather than someone just saying, well, I'm Jacob's mom and I'm a proxy for Jacob. No, we need to hear that passphrase so we confirm that authentication. So each one of these areas, again, gives permission. The student account access only has the permission to talk about billing, payment, and tax activity when that box is checked. We don't use our system for the student account. We use a third-party system called TouchNet. So TouchNet is separate, and a parent can be given a guest user account in TouchNet to see and pay a student's bill, but that's separate from Proxy. So here in Proxy, the student gives us permission to talk to their parent about their bill. So ultimately, again, it's really important for us as parents and families to have those conversations with students to figure out how we're going to get access. What is it that mom or dad wants to see or know, what the student is comfortable with, and then the student goes in and establishes the proxy. couple of other tidbits I want to mention when we talk about grades in proxy. These are not assignment grades or test grades that are part of what maybe as parents we're used to seeing in PowerSchool or Blackboard. These are end of semester final grades. So they will not be able to give you access to see how they did on last week's biology test. They would be able to give you access to see what were submitted for their final grades in all their classes at the end of each semester. The other piece that I like to really remind parents about, it's not really appropriate for us as parents to call faculty members and say, how's my student doing in your class? The faculty member should and will almost without fail, I think, say, sorry, I can't talk to anyone but the student about their performance in my class. If that's the case, you might say, well, I'm a proxy and my students checked all the boxes. And while that may be true, the faculty member's conversation is not part of your student's record. And we are not required to share any academic information or any information from a student's education record with anyone but the student, even if we have their permission. So ultimately, a faculty member can't be compelled, other than a subpoena or things, to talk to anyone but the student about how the student's doing in their class. So check out the information that we have there at wichita.edu/FERPA. You'll see that, again, when I mentioned that a student has the access or the rights to say who can have access to their record with some exceptions, there are a couple of things that are exceptions. The university establishes certain information to be deemed directory information. It's that information that is not really harmful if shared, like that a student is enrolled and if they're full-time or part-time and what their major is. That's directory information. So we can share that without the student's consent. There is an exception also in the case of a health and safety emergency. We can share certain, necessary information from a student's education record in a health or safety emergency without their consent. So think about FERPA as saying that a student owns the right to the records and we can't provide information to any third party without their consent, except if it's directory information or except if it's a health and safety emergency. And there are a couple other exceptions you might be interested in reading more about. One other of those exceptions that I'd like to mention is that if you're claiming the student as a tax dependent on your taxes, there is another way that you can request information from our office about the student's record. It requires filling out a form and providing the most recent first page of the most recent taxes, a copy of that. So we see that you have claimed them, and then we would provide you with the student's transcript. So if we do that, if you want to go down that path, we can help you out there. But ultimately, really, we recommend that if you can access and have something set up with proxy, that you do that, and encourage you to read the information about our proxy system and talk with your student about getting that set up. Okay, I think those are the things that I wanted to cover. I don't know if there are any questions that have come through that someone wants to ask me, or I guess there's some comments.
There's not any questions yet,
but if you putting information out there. You guys see any other questions that are for me, Kim? See any?
No, I didn't see any. So I think you are good. But what happens in a situation like I was in when your student, you say, okay, student, go out and give me the access because I'm paying the bills. And so that's the expectation, because this is a conversation that we have with our students, right? That if we're paying the bills, which is a separate kind of thing. And that's a whole separate topic for, I think that's next week, one of next week's topics. But what happens when you let that kind of lay out there for a while, right? So we went through it, and my student went through and checked all the boxes. And then I was like, okay, great. I'll check my email later and I'll take care of that later. And then later came and went, and along with a couple other weeks, right? And then I got back in and I was like, oh, looky there, I can't get in. So can you just, if in case, just, I want people to know that there is a time frame that you could probably be doing this with your student, and
right.
So what I did.
Yeah. So when the student initially sets up the proxy and checks the boxes and all of that, that again prompts a couple of emails to the proxy. And one of them we tried to put in the subject code, read this first, because there's some timing that goes along there. But ultimately, yes, when the student first sets up a proxy, there is a token essentially that is kind of, provided, that is what the parent or the proxy, because the proxy could be a parent or other people, but anyway, that the proxy utilizes to set their password. And that token has a time limit. So if your student sets you up as a proxy and that email comes to you and you let it sit in your box for 2 weeks or a month, or whatever it is, then you might go in and find that that has expired. So I agree with Kim that really ideally the student do it together, or tell the student, hey, let me know when you've gone in there and set that proxy. But ultimately, you should get an email as the proxy. If you're checking your email on a regular basis, then you'll see that come in, and you should go ahead and do your part right away, setting up your password so that it's all good. Also would mention that a student has the right to remove a proxy or add and remove the things that the proxy can see at any time, so they can make the changes. The initial establishment of a proxy, if the student doesn't remove that proxy access, it's set with an expiration of 6 years. So kind of giving that 4 years about there, for an undergraduate degree, with a little wiggle room in case other things kind of happen. So I think actually that answers the question right here, that we're saying that does it expire once the student has granted it and you've set up your process? Yes, it expires after 6 years. How much time do we have to access? So I think that is kind of the same question. So as long as, again, the student's enrolled, this gets into a little bit in the weeds, but maybe helpful. When a student graduates with their undergraduate degree, there are various kinds of things that happen. We, post the degree and award that in our system and all that. And we do a process that inactivates their learner record on our system, because they're no longer going to be, unless they're already pre-enrolled for a future semester or admitted to grad school, things like that. But if they've graduated and they're done, then we inactivate them. And then we have a process that if a student is inactive, then the proxy gets inactivated as well. Because if a student's inactive, they can't go out and make the changes to their proxy. So we can't give access if there's no way for the student to go in and say, I don't want my mom to see that anymore, or whatever kind of thing. So yeah, so there are some things that kind of go along with that in terms of timing, but in general, for the duration of your student being an active student here, active on our system, meaning, and unless they expire or end your proxy access, it would last that full 6 years.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that we often get questions most from parents about is, I had access and now I don't. And one of the things that we're often talking about in new student orientation with our guests and families is, how do parents utilize their leverage in order to gain access to those records? And so a lot of times students are like, nope, I don't want my mom to see my grades. It's not her business. Well, if you want me to pay your bill, guess what? I need this form signed. And the other part is, Gina made a really good point about the grades that are viewable in there are at end of term, at the end of the semester. And so during orientation, I talk a lot about when your student comes home for fall break, when they come home for Thanksgiving break, for Christmas break, of having them log into their student account and pull up and say, hey, how classes? Oh, they're great. Well, I want to make sure that your grade matches my grade, right? And so if we are at, I got a D and a D is passing, yay, but is that the standard that I want for my student? And I may want to say, hey, we can do better, and what resources are available for you? And so when your students come home, have them log into their account and show you what their grades are. You're seeing, are they turning assignments in on time? How are they performing on tests and quizzes? Are they engaging in class and participation? Some of those important things. And again, you don't have access to get into your student's account. And so having them do this process with you, beginning to have open and honest conversations, is a really critical component of them gaining their independence and learning how to articulate how life is really going. Because what we'll find is sometimes they'll struggle their first year, their first semester. It may be a little difficult from what they've experienced in high school, right? And so making sure we're giving grace and we're helping them navigate what that process looks like and how to get connected with resources. So I always love Gina's presentation because as parents, we're like, oh, I need this. And then we're like, what? This applies to us too? And it's hard. But you know, trusting the process goes a long way. So if you have any other questions regarding proxy access, FERPA access, Gina's going to hang on for a little bit. Feel free to throw those in the chat, but we're going to go ahead and turn it over to Lisa. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, Lisa, and then we're going to talk about books, textbooks, and access, and all the great things that are going to get our kiddos, you know, some amazing knowledge and ready for, yeah, first day of classes. So Lisa, take it away.
We're good to go now. Hi, everybody. I'm Lisa Tilma. I'm the director of the Shocker Store. I am actually the baby, I guess, of this group. I've only been with the university and with the WSU bookstore for about 6 years. So what I thought I would do tonight is take you on a tour of basically our website and how your student and you can look at what textbooks will be needed, all the different variations that we do offer, whether it be new, used, rental, to purchase, and then also digital courseware that is provided then too. So I'm going to try and share my screen here. What I want to do is we're going to go over here to the Shocker Store's website, and it's just shockerstore.com. And up at the top, you can see the very first option that drops down is course materials. And so we're going to click on that Find My Textbooks, and that's going to pull up a search screen. Right now, summer classes are ongoing and will be until about the end of the month. So what we can do right now is only view textbooks that will be for the fall semester. So online ordering does open up Friday, August 1st. Definitely want to draw that to everyone's attention. And then the other thing to note also is we're kind of going through, I'm going to bring up a few examples to show you of the different kinds of textbooks and again, options that we offer. One thing I can't show you right now is which courses might be available with rentals. And again, that's just because we're in the summer term. Our system doesn't like to have rental options open for 2 different terms. But again, rental textbooks are something that we do offer. And again, those should be viewable come August 1st. So right off the bat, also, if you haven't been on campus, our main store, the big store, as I like to call it, is located in the Radigan Student Center. So we're going to be on the first floor and adjacent to Starbucks. So if you can find Starbucks, then you can find us. We do have a smaller store that's located over on the Innovation campus side, closer to 21st and Oliver. That store is primarily retail. So if you're needing textbooks, school supplies, when it comes time for your student to graduate, we'll have regalia at the big store. So come by and see us for sure. So there's 3 different ways that we can search for texts on this page. And so the first option is with the CRN, and that's typically the 5-digit number that's at the end of a course or section. You can also search for a book, and whether that be a keyword, an author's name, even if you have that ISBN number, or you can actually search by course then down here too. And again, I'm going to change that to fall 25. So I've got, I think here about 5 different classes that I want us to look at, and I'm going to go ahead and type in. And in this case, I already have those CRNs. So again, that 5-digit number, and you can see that's English 101, and there's that last number right there. So we're going to look at a couple different here. I've got a couple different math classes. Just again, so you get an idea of what we all offer for your student when it comes to their study materials. So bear with me just a second more. We're going to put in a biology class. and then one more math class because it's a little bit different than the other one I selected. So right there, you can see we've got 5 different courses. You come all the way down to the bottom here, click on that arrow, view your materials, and that will all pop up. So the first one, that Biology 210, you're going to see that's a open educational resource. And that's something that's actually been selected by the faculty member to provide for free. And so if you click here, that's going to take you then out to where they can get the book. They're able to download a PDF, or they can also view it online. Now you'll notice back over here, we do have costs as far as having print available. So if your student does better with, maybe if they're old school like me and they like the paper, they like being able to highlight, being able to make notes, things like that, we do offer that available. And again, you can see we have both new and used. Other alternate sources that you can see would be an ebook that would be provided through our partner, VitalSource. In this case, that would be a title when it's provided as an alternative, would be something that would have to be paid by the student. And that's going to be a little different than digital course materials through our Access Now program. So I'll come back to that in just a bit. English 101. Lots of the English professors and the history professors still like to use textbooks. And so, but believe it or not, we are seeing more and more courses go to digital courses, digital materials that they provide. Last fall, I think we were at about 650 classes that use digital materials. We're already over 800 for this coming fall. So there is a very high chance that your student will be using some form or another of digital course materials. But we do have paperback and in some cases hardback, it just depends. And again, I do want to stress also that faculty are responsible for submitting their reading requirements, their adoptions to us. It does happen from time to time that they may put a required text in their syllabus, but they did not tell us. So definitely this is a great place for your students to check and see, is the book that they're looking for, is it something we have on hand? If not, we always encourage students, to go online, take a look, see if they can find it someplace else. So we'd like to be your number one source, but if the faculty person hasn't told us what they want, we can help them find alternate solutions for sure. So, and I do, again, want to stress, again, rentals not being visible right now. I did look this one up as an example in our system, and it for sure is a rental. So again, come August 1st, when fall ordering opens up, you'll be able to see rental prices. And in addition to listing for new and used, if we also have a rental as a new book or a used book, you'll see those prices listed as well too. So, in very rare cases, we do have some courses that are still using an access code. And if I remember what my course materials manager told me, we're really looking at the foreign languages being pretty much the only group that's using those now. So as you can see for this French 104 class, it does have an access code. And we have included a link so that students can go ahead and click on that and purchase it directly from the publisher. And that takes them out to Vista Higher Learning. We chose not to necessarily sell that through the store because that Vista, I think it's Vista Higher Learning, they actually don't provide competitive rates to us as a university bookstore. And that's one thing that we hold very high, is that we are trying to find, and we work with our publishers for both printed materials as well as digital materials to provide the best price possible for students. So again, we know, college is expensive. And, if you're having to pay, $200, $300 for a book, from us or for an access code, but you could get it for $150 somewhere else. We'd rather that your student, save that money and maybe buy you a t-shirt from the store instead. So anyway, so that was one I definitely wanted to show. Again, those are few and far between, but if it does pop up, just know that your student will have to purchase that access code directly from the publisher. Another example that you might see would be our math, for this example, Math 112. You'll see that this course does not require any textbooks. Again, other materials may be required. So sometimes instructors provide that information directly to the students, whether it's in handouts and lecture, through Blackboard videos, things like that. Or it could be just, again, that they didn't necessarily tell us what they wanted to use for the course. So if you see that and it's early on, again, August 1st, let's say that you're seeing this message pop up, but have it on good authority that there might be materials, you might check back at a later date then too. So we are still receiving adoptions. They're still trickling in. So we try to have as current as information as possible out there for the students. So. And then the last one to show you, we've talked a lot about access tonight. And so access for us actually means something different. The Access Now program is part of the WSU Digital Course Materials program. And so those digital materials are going to be provided through Blackboard. And so you can see right here that it says digital, and that's what the price is for it as well too. Those materials are going to actually be charged automatically to your students' account, and they're going to be listed, as you can see, as a digital book. So in this case, it would be digital book Math 531 on your university statement. I believe we also have our telephone number listed on the student account statement beside that listing. So if you ever have any questions, you can always contact us. The student can always stop by through the store if they have any questions, and we'll visit this site in just a little bit, but also we have several FAQs out there as well too. So we want to be as accessible as possible to help your student. We're finding now these days that a lot of students have used digital course materials, whether it be through middle school or high school, or my kids are going to be 7th graders next year, and this has been something that they've been doing since pretty much 1st grade too. So it's a little more intuitive than it was a few years back, but definitely if they have questions, they can always come by and see us for sure. So all right, so other information about Access Now. I definitely wanted to show you a course, what that looks like for your student. And so in this screen, I've already logged on to Blackboard, and I'm enrolled in the Math 531 class. And so when I click on that, it's going to bring up then everything for the student. And again, right now I'm listed as an instructor. That was the only way I could enroll myself into it to be able to show you all tonight. So, but we have included instructions on how to access those materials. So your student will click on that. And hopefully we've made this as simple as possible. So you can see up here at the top that if they don't like to read through things and just don't have time, this link right here is going to give you the option to go and launch the textbook, or if they want to opt out of it. So opting out will be it's basically the first 10 days of class. And so it coincides with the drop date with the academic calendar. So they have 10 days to decide if they want to go ahead and stay enrolled in the digital course materials and just have that paid for, ease of mind, first day accessibility, all of that. Or if they would prefer, and maybe they already have the textbook. So it might be something that they say, nope, I'm going to go ahead and save some money, so I'm going to opt out. So in this case, we have again provided instructions on how to do that. And I'll show you here in just a second that they are going to be prompted to register. So please, we always try to encourage them, have them use their student account, that at shockers.wichita.edu email address. Sometimes I know, if we have personal accounts and whatnot, because the systems are talking to each other. And we have lots of systems between the university and the bookstore. So 9 times out of 10, if we're finding that the connection isn't working, it's usually because they've used a personal email address. So, and in this case, you can see that we have the deadline, and we put the deadline date in all of our links and attachments in Blackboard, so they know exactly when it is. And there are multiple email reminders that will also go out to students, I believe no less than 3 or 4, if I'm remembering correctly. And that same link, again, that was over on the course materials side, that shockerstore.com's Access Now. That is also provided as a link for them directly there. So again, trying to make it just as simple and easy as possible. So let's say they want to read the book, they would click there. And you're going to see that it's going to pop up. And in essence, again, VitalSource is our partner with this. And if I was enrolled in multiple classes, then I would be able to see other digital courses out here as well too. But in this case, I'm just in math. And again, that opt-out date is provided there. And if you click on the read now, that's going to launch it over then to our partner VitalSource. And you can see, again, this is where they're going to need to log in and email. So again, that at shockers.wichita.edu account. So I don't want to learn more about math, so I'm not going to enroll in any of that. So, back to Access Now then. So this is that direct link out to our frequently asked questions website. You can also access it just right there. What is Access Now? That information will pull up for you. So a little bit more information about it. The things that I have found that benefit students the most with using these digital course materials is just the way and how it can be tailored and how they can learn. So if you can change the background, so it's a black background in most of these digital materials. Publishers have really worked to make it as accessible as possible. You can have text read to you. You can actually highlight in it. You can make the font bigger, make it smaller, etc. So, versus the one format of just on print, we know students learn in all different ways. So, so this has become kind of a norm for us now, just in the past few years. So, as you scroll down, other things, how do I know if my class is part of Access Now? Again, they'll see that when they are if they're out there looking at their schedule in Banner, or it is, again, out on our website, as I showed you previously. Access Now costs are listed. And for the most part, we do see at least a 50 to 60% less than print textbook. And last academic year alone, in digital course materials only, if students had purchased directly from us versus a publisher, there was over $500,000 that we were able to save to students over last academic year. So, again, we're not doing our job if we're not helping find cheaper solutions and other alternatives for your student. So, this question we get asked a lot: how many times can I opt out and back in? So say your student isn't necessarily, I don't think I need it, but then find out, oh, nope, there's some assignments that I need to do. They can opt in and opt out as many times as they want up until that deadline. Now, let's say that deadline hits, and I think it was, again, August 29th was the last day for classes. Let's say it's September 5th and they're like, oh no, I need to get back into it. That is not a problem. We can definitely do that for them. They just need to contact us. And again, they can email us at that accessnow@wichita.edu. They can call us, they can stop by the store, and we can definitely get them back in. I will let you know that if they opt out and want to stay opt out, please allow those charges to be removed. Give them about 24 to 48 hours for that to happen. It's not an automatic process because, again, our system has to be able to talk to the university's billing software as well, too. So now, if it's been 3 or 4 days and they've opted out and they're still seeing that charge, then by all means, please have them call or visit us, and we can make sure that's taken care of on the back end. So, let's see, what else? Experiencing trouble, who do I contact for help? Again, there's the link, accessnow@wichita.edu. Please, please, please make sure that they are including their name, their student ID, what course they're taking, and then it does help to know what browser they're using and if they can send us screenshots. So, yeah, okay. So I think that gets through as far as digital courses. I do want to go back and talk a little bit more just about print materials and things like that. We do have set dates as far as when, if you're looking to do a return, say maybe a student drops a course, they're basically going to have up to 10 days after the term has started to be able to return that for a full amount, for a full refund. If it's pre-session, there's no returns after the first day, since that's a very short term. I think it's about 2 weeks. And then for any of the first 8 weeks or the second 8-week courses that they're taking, they have up to 4 days after the term has started. So anytime we're doing any kind of return, make sure that they hang on to their receipt. We do have some ways of being able to look up purchases if they're using their student ID as part of the loyalty program that we offer. But if they're just purchasing, let's say with cash, and they need to return that, we're definitely going to need that receipt because we're not going to be able to look them up in our system. So rentals are going to be due per the date that's printed on the receipt. And usually I think we give them 2 or 3 days after, business days after the semester has ended. Again, multiple email reminders will be sent out to students, reminding them to turn in their rental textbooks. And sometimes they come early just so that we'll quit emailing them. So main thing is we just don't want them to get charged because there is a late fee of $20. So let's say that student also decides that maybe they want to go ahead and purchase the textbook. They can definitely do that at that time. And usually it's just whatever the balance is owed for the rental. So we found that rentals usually, as far as pricing, will be about 50% less than if they were purchasing. That's a good round number. So let's say a textbook normally costs $50. They rented it for $25. If they decide at the end of the semester they want to purchase it, it would just be paying the remaining balance of $25. So if you are interested, we do also have our rental agreement that is posted out online on the website. And so that just talks about when it needs to be returned, what kind of condition it needs to be returned in, things like that. So pretty self-explanatory. Let's say also that it's at the end of the semester, your student knows that they do not need the textbook moving forward, and maybe wants to make a little extra money then too. So we offer a couple solutions, and one is through our wholesale textbook provider, MBS, Missouri Book Systems, and Sorry, I just clicked on that real quick. But basically, they can sell their books online any time of the year. It's as simple as looking at that barcode on the back of the textbook. That's your ISBN number. Typically starts with a 978, or if it's a used version, it might start with, I think, with like a 214, 204. Typing that in and then just doing a search. If it's something that your student feels that, yep, that's a good price, I'd like to do that, they're going to get a free prepaid shipping label that they can just print out right then and there. They're going to pack and send their books, and then payment can either be submitted to them through PayPal or a check, and check does take up to about 3 weeks to do. Another alternative, let me go back, would be if they would like to participate in Shocker Book Swap. And so that is something we've provided where students can basically sell to students. They can go out there and they can list a book, what kind of condition, and what their asking price is. So in this case, our software has also provided competitive pricing then too, to see what it would be in store. So that's also available out there as well too. As far as any of the courses that use the digital ebooks or courseware, students are going to have access to that primarily just for the semester. So in some cases, depending on the publisher, there is the opportunity to print pages out if they would like to do that. It's not very often, I think, that we have too many digital materials roll over from, say, maybe a general ed course to a next one. But if they do, then again, competitive pricing is going to be available to them for that. Other than that, I think I just want to do kind of a shameless plug again for the store in general. In addition to having textbooks and helping answer any questions or technical issues with Access Now, we do have art supplies available for sale, school supplies. If your student needs a special laptop, I know with engineering students, they have some special requirements. We partner with Dell and can do special ordered laptops if your student is interested in that. You're also going to find just basic Shocker gear. So lots of t-shirts, spirit items, car decals, things like that to show off your WSU pride. And then again, when it comes time for your student to graduate, we have all that they need. So tassels, honor cords, stoles, gowns, caps, all that good stuff we carry year round in the store. Because I know students also like to take their photos early too. So we're here to help however we can. Other than that, I think just to wrap up, I do want to go ahead and give our telephone number, 316-978-3490. And then right now we do have summer hours, and those are ongoing through Saturday, August 9th. But basically we're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and on Saturdays, 10 to 2. And then once we get rocking and rolling closer to the start of the school semester, we're going to be open Monday through Thursday, 8 to 6, Fridays, 8 to 5, and then Saturdays again from 10 to 2. So again, I want to thank you for this opportunity. Let me see if I can switch it back over. Yeah, just want to thank everybody for the opportunity to present. And if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
We got lots of questions, Lisa. Woo! Lots of questions that have come in. And so we'll kind of try to get through these quickly. And I do want to just say a huge thank you to Lisa and her crew. They have worked really hard in trying to get the student textbook fee down to the most bare minimum cost possible, and have done a tremendous job of going out and working with publishers to try to look at alternative means in order for our students to learn. And so I just want to give a shout out to you and your team, Lisa, because that's kind of a huge part of student retention that often kind of gets lost, of making sure our students have access to the books that they need so that they can learn. And your team has done a phenomenal job with that, especially, and then we're going to get into these questions, is Kim and I volunteer a lot at the beginning of the year with golf cart rides, and then also helping out in the Shocker store. And so I'm going to tell you right now, when Lisa says, go online, buy your books, it's going to save you so much time from your students having to wait in a long line to pay. Essentially, they buy their books online, they go down into the Shocker store, show their ID, and they will pick up their books and they will walk out. And that process is smooth sailing, the best process that I've seen on any campus. And so again, just great job to you and your team, Lisa, for all that you do for our students. So a lot of questions. So the first one, if a student rents a book, but then decides that they want to take it or want to keep it, can they purchase it?
Yes. So again, at the end of the rental term, at the end of the semester, they have the option to be able to purchase that. And again, it would just be whatever the balance is owed on the textbook itself. So, yeah.
Perfect. All right.
Oh.
Here we go. A couple classes said cost adds to bill, but he won a $250 book scholarship. How do they redeem that?
Yes. So, and I'm wondering then too, if maybe the question is if there's also like Access Now materials that were used. So we have partnered with admissions on that. And congratulations to your student. It sounds like that they had won one of those scholarships. So basically, yeah, so they're already set up in our system. We have all student names, ID numbers who had won a scholarship, a book scholarship from admissions. Basically, they come in, they get what they need, they show their ID so that we can ring them out at the register. But basically, it's just putting those charges towards that scholarship that they won courtesy of admissions. So, yeah.
All right. So you mentioned some materials are charged to students' account. Yes. Is that the financial aid department account or something else?
I believe it's just the student account. And
Yes.
so like their bill that might show if they have like dorm charges, meal charges, things like that. That's where that's all listed out.
Perfect. Right. I'm sorry, I'm trying to jump in here. Jessica, if my student opts in for one class, can he opt out of another, or is it all or nothing? Great question.
Nope, it is on a per class basis. So absolutely, if they want to stay in for one class but not the other, they have that option to do it class by class. So kind of like what I showed you there out in Blackboard for that math class, that screen is going to pop up for every single class, and with the link specifically to the book assigned to that class. Yeah, so.
And so this is one, if they opt out of Access Now, can they still purchase print materials, and are those always offered in your store, Lisa?
So, and that's a great question to ask, because a lot of it depends on the publisher. And I can tell you, publishers, they've gotten away from carrying a lot of print materials too. So in some cases, if there are print materials available that we have on shelf, you'll see those also listed as an option, as an upgrade is typically what it's called. I will tell you that for the most part, they come what's known as loose leaf, which is they're 3-hole punched. There's no book binder, no cover to it. You basically buy a 3-hole binder and you throw it in. And so in some cases, again, knowing that all students learn different ways, if it's something we don't have in store, we can special order it for them. So when we do that, we will let the student know what that price is ahead of time. And then once we have their approval, we do ask for prepayment. And then that way, when it comes in, we just call them and they pick it up and they're good to go. Okay. Oh, I like this question.
Me too.
Okay, so the Shocker Rewards program is a loyalty rewards program. And basically, all students, for the most part, when they come in, our system talks with Banner, and that information automatically pushes to us. So it's just asking them to confirm that they want to be part of the program, either at the register or they can go online and do that. And again, it is tied to their ID number. So for every dollar that is spent in the Shocker store, when you put that, when you use your loyalty account, you're going to see, I believe it's 5% come back to you. It takes about 2 weeks for those points to be added to your account. And if you're seeing that the points aren't accumulating, let us know. Sometimes we find that a student has set up a school account, but then they also have a personal account. And so it's very, well, I say it's very easy. I don't have to do it. Our IT director will combine those accounts. But those points turn into cash, and they can be spent on anything in the store. You can get you a Snickers bar. You can buy school supplies. I saw one student that for the 4 years he was with us, he saved up all his loyalty points and he bought his regalia for graduation. It was the coolest thing. It really was. So, but yeah, that's available for anybody. For parents, you don't necessarily have to have an ID with us. It would just be telephone based. And then if you're visiting our student union store there in the Radigan Student Center, if you're at Brayburn, or even if you're at one of our athletic events at Coke Arena or at X Stadium for baseball, just let us know your loyalty number. We can get that in and you can start accumulating those points. Okay.
Question, do students need to purchase books before classes start?
So that's really, it's a preference. I'm not going to lie to you, because there are times when instructors tell us, yep, this textbook is required. They have to have it. And then come to find out at the end of the semester, when we were doing in-store book buyback, we'd get those books back still in the cellophane wrapper. So I would say, and especially if it says that it's required on our website, there's a good chance that they will need to purchase it. But again, we sell books year round. So if your student needs to come in a week later, 6 weeks later, even if we don't have it on the shelf, again, we can special order it at that time for them. So. And yes, will students know what books to buy for sure by August 1st? I believe faculty were given a deadline, at least for our digital course materials, because we know billing will be starting, I think, later this week. They had a deadline, I believe, of June 30th. We may still see some adoptions come in again between August 1st and when classes start, but I would say we have about 90% of that information already out there on the website. So.
All right, so my son's English class digital access is $130. Wondering if a textbook would be cheaper.
Without, I was going to say, without knowing which book specifically, I can't necessarily answer that. But what we have found is that through our publishers, digital materials are about half of what you would pay for print. So if you'd like to email us at accessnow@wichita.edu, we could definitely get you a price comparison.
Thanks. So can the students buy books online if they want a book scholarship? If they need to come in for that?
Yeah, we'd prefer really that they do. Scholarships for us are a little different when using the e-commerce platform to order online. Those are more tied into like our third-party vouchers, say through the VA, DCF, Kansas Works, things like that. So they could put in the notes that they want a scholarship, and we could try to compare it up that way. I'm not saying it's not impossible, but it would be a lot quicker if they came in store.
Yeah. And our last question, I know we're 3 minutes over, but thanks for hanging with us. What is the cost difference between renting and buying? And we always get that question.
Yep. So again, when we're renting to students, typically you're going to see it's about 50% less than what it would be to purchase those textbooks. So it's not always that way. It kind of depends on the course, but that's a pretty good rule of thumb.
Okay. All right. Lots of questions tonight for you. Normally it's the other way around and Gina gets hit with all the questions. So this is great. One of the things, just as we wrap up, I really appreciate, especially for students who have the Access Now or our other means, being able to not understand that process. So many students go into the Shocker store, and Lisa's team is amazing at getting them sat down and helping to walk them through that process. And so at any time, I always send students down there, and they take their time to help them understand what that looks like. And it's really great. If something's not working, they're trying to troubleshoot that with the student, with the faculty. And so again, it's a huge thing that's all done behind the scenes that really helps our students succeed, both inside and outside of the classroom.
And the only other thing that I would add to that is I know typically incoming freshmen can be very shy and not necessarily want to per se come and ask for help or whatnot. I would encourage them, any kind of issues they're encountering, it's possible their classmates are as well too. Sometimes it's a pairing issue between Blackboard and VitalSource. Sometimes it's as easy as, okay, you need to turn off your pop-up browsers, you know. So we've seen everything. We're happy to help. The good news is if we can't figure it out, and I will say my course materials manager, she's been with us 20 plus years. So she knows all the ins and outs of it better than I do, but we have great relationships with our publishers. A lot of times they'll pop into the store even during that first week of class just to make sure, hey, is everything going okay? So we're going to take care of your student as well as we can. And so one more question.
Last question. So the student was looking at book options. They noticed that the Chem to 11 print and digital versions appeared to be two different books. Is this a concern?
Let me go look at Chem 211. I believe there is a lab manual.
Yep,
which,
that is right.
Okay. And then I believe there's also just the regular book. I'm going to see if I can pull that up. Yeah. So, and I'm over here looking. So yes, so there are two different, the lab manual, which is basically just a spiral bound notebook. And again, they can come and get that from us at any time. We do have those in store right now. And then there is the actual textbook itself that is provided through Access Now. So that class, I can tell you, yes, they will need both.
Perfect. So as we wrap up, any words of wisdom, Gina, Kim, Lisa, that you want to share as we wrap up for the evening? I just want to thank all of our families for joining us tonight. Next week, we have two sessions next week, which the one is going to be the hot topic, your finances, and how do you check your students' account for that balance, and then also student accommodations. And so hopefully you'll join us next week. If you have questions, feel free to send us an email at shockers.family@wichita.edu, and we can make sure that we get those questions answered. But other than that, words of wisdom.
I'll pop in here. The very first question tonight was actually about housing. So I'm going to answer that really, really quickly. So if you're still on the line, I hope you are. If you're looking for your room diagrams, plans, I can't think of the word I'm looking for. Go to wichita.edu/housing. And then in your section menu, look at your housing options. And then you choose your building and you'll see floor plans. That's what I'm looking for, floor plans. It doesn't give you dimensions, but it does give you a floor plan. So that answers that one. No, but Lisa and Gina, you guys have been great. We do get lots of very individual questions, and you all are both very, very helpful, as are your staff. As well. And so just appreciate the information tonight, and shout out to the families. It's always fun when they pop up the questions, because then you can see the pictures. And I saw a marching band kid. Shout out to marching band parents. I saw Chiefs. So yay you. Saw one with so at a recruitment event, at a photo booth, a Shocker, and another senior picture, I think maybe of an athlete. So you guys are having lots of fun. I'm certainly proud of your students. And so we can't wait to have y'all on campus with us in the fall. So I think that's it for me.
I would just say ask. As Lisa mentioned, I have a daughter who has 3 degrees from WSU and a son who is going into his 2nd year here. And I think it was Lisa that mentioned sometimes freshmen are afraid to ask. I think a lot of times students of all ages are afraid to ask. Or I'll be asking my student something and they'll say, well, I don't know. I'm like, did you ask?
Yeah.
So, I'm not just, really keep pushing your student to find someone, ask, come to any office, even go to the One Stop or Student Success or registrar's office, anywhere, and somebody will help them. But sometimes students don't know what they don't know, and we certainly can't help unless they ask. So I feel like I'm in the midst of that right now with my son, just that kind of extra each time, realizing he has a question, but he hasn't really gotten it to a place where he thinks he needs to ask it of someone. So ask.
All right, so we did our drawing for tonight's winner, and it is Miss Rosa Martinez from Wichita, Kansas. Yay! So we'll be emailing you, Rosa. Thanks for joining us. You've been a follower from the beginning, I believe. And so we're excited to get some Shocker Family gear out to you. We'll send an email to get your information. If you would like to, a chance to win, make sure you keep logging in and engaging in the process. But we are 10 minutes over now. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you.
Somebody just asked about the housing website again. So wichita.edu/housing, right, Kim? What you said?
Yep, we'll put that up. Here we go.
Here's Rosa, yay.
Yay. Yeah, we'll put that in the chat here. But if you have any questions, and again, housing, wichita.edu/housing, phenomenal. You can get the packing list, the do's and don'ts, the floor plans, information on students, roommates, all that good stuff. But again, if you have questions, shoot us an email, visit us on the website. We are here. All of us are on standby to help you and your students transition to the university. And we can't wait to welcome them to Shocker Nation in a few short weeks. Until then, take care and have a shocktastic day. Goodbye.